It is interesting that we again get more material that sounds better than what we're getting in the movies, and it's used to fill in the gaps. Why couldn't we see the Knights of Ren? Why couldn't we see their backstory on screen? Why couldn't we get that story? You know, we got to have a comic now to fill in the gaps and introduce the backstory because they didn't know what they were doing probably when they created them in the first place. Guys, Final Death Star. I've got an article I'm going to talk about here. It's from IO9, and it's talking about a new comic that's going to give us the history of the Knights of Ren. Yes, that's right. A comic that's going to fill in the gaps of what we should have gotten in the movies. This is coming from IO9, and it's entitled, Holy Crap! Marvel's Kylo Ren comic will lift the lid on the Knights of Ren's mysterious past. And then there you see kind of an image of Ben Solo / transforming into, morphing into Kylo Ren. I mean, it was already an incredibly interesting Charles Soule, who did a fascinating job on the second run of Darth Vader with Giuseppe Camuncoli. Tackling the intriguing, conflicted, wayward villain of the Star Wars sequel trilogy, and so close to the rise of Skywalker, too. While now this latest tidbit about the series has our heads spinning even harder. This morning, January, solicits for Marvel's upcoming comics gave us the first details of the rise of Skywalker, of the rise of Kylo Ren. I'm sorry, the titles are so close together. Number 2, the second issue in the miniseries by Soule and Will Sliney, due out January 15th. Most importantly, it gave us a look at Clayton Crane's cover for the series depicting not Kylo Ren, but Ben Solo. And then here you have this pretty good looking cover of, oh look, it's Luke Skywalker with a lightsaber doing Jedi stuff. Wouldn't that have been good to see in a movie? Wouldn't you have liked to see some of that in the movie? Luke Skywalker with a lightsaber doing Jedi stuff. It seems like this would have been a better story than what we're getting. Oh man, look at that. Who's he taking on there, huh? They're taking on the Knights of Ren, that's right. Hot diggity dog! Here's a brief teaser of what we can expect inside the issue. With the new Jedi School in ruins and fellow students hot on his trail for the murder of their master, Ben Solo flees to the only friend he has left in the galaxy, a man named Snoke. But Snoke has plans for Ben and ideas about the Force that are boring. Oh, I'm sorry, that was The Last Jedi. That are dangerous. They are intriguing for the troubled young Jedi. If Ben wishes to be truly free, the answers might lie with the dark side and with the Knights of Ren. But it won't be the first time he's tangled with the Knights of Ren. In the past, Jedi Master Luke Skywalker journeys to the unknown regions and brings young Ben along for the mission. Can even Luke Skywalker stand against the fabled Knights of Ren? Yeah, he's a Jedi Master. He can beat a bunch of knights. They're not Jedi Knights. Now, as cool as a sight as it is, and as cool as a sight as that would have been to see, it's not too surprising to see the Knights of Ren sans Kylo. Ever since they were first teased, we know that Kylo was inducted into an order that was established long before him. He didn't become Kylo and then make his own knights, but still seeing Ben Solo, Jedi Padawan, facing off against them punctures a few long-running theories about the identity of these figures. First off, the description reveals that this duel takes place in the Star Wars galaxy's mysterious unknown regions, an area beyond charted space that is home to everything from the Chiss, we all know that from Grand Admiral Thrawn's race, to the secret armadas of the First Order, and a sect of Imperial loyalists before them, to Snoke, and to a mysterious power that Emperor Palpatine spent his rule of the Galactic Empire coveting. That ties the Knights closer to Snoke than it does to Ben, but it also throws aside the long-running theory that the Knights are the fellow students we're told Ben ran away with the night he attacked Luke in self-defense, as we unfortunately learned in The Last Jedi, when Luke so uncharacteristically tries to kill him and burn down the fledgling Jedi temple he'd built. But there's something else very exciting about Crane's cover. We've seen the Knights wielding various melee and ranged weapons in both their brief presence in the films and in teaser art for The Rise of Skywalker and The Rise of Kylo Ren. First shown back at San Diego Comic-Con, they were all typical Star Warsy things: blasters, axes, spears, and so on. One of these Knights, however, has an honest-to-God crimson lightsaber. And if you've been keeping up with the Star Wars tie-in media since the run-up to The Force Awakens, a certain alarm bell might be ringing in your head right now. Yes, like this sounds like a much better story and movie than what we got. That's the alarm bell that's ringing in my head. Is there a connection to the Knights of Ren and the Acolytes of the Beyond? In Chuck Wendig's Aftermath trilogy of novels, the Acolytes of the Beyond were introduced as a roaming cult who believed they were guided by visions of ancient Sith Lords, fighting against the fates that the will of the cosmic force imposed on all living beings. They were a myriad cells across the galaxy who ventured around seeking ancient Sith relics to draw power from, including old Sith lightsabers. The first book of the trilogy, one cell of the Acolytes headed to the planet Taurus, introduced in BioWare's beloved, but mostly it's no longer canon, RPG classic Knights of the Old Republic, still my favorite Star Wars game, and purchased what they believe to be the actual lightsaber of Darth Vader, recovered from Endor in a similar manner to the way Vader's melted mask eventually was. I don't know how that's possible, because he lost his hand and it flew down, but hey, anything's possible. The Emperor's coming back, and they found Luke's lightsaber, and he lost it in Cloud City, so whatever. If the Acolytes eventually sought the same power Palpatine has sensed out in the unknown regions, did they venture there and ultimately become the first generation of the Knights of Ren? Hell, is this knight wielding the lightsaber of Luke's father and Ben's grandfather, sparking an intriguing arc that could lead to the latter's eventual descent to the dark side? Or is it just another one of those ancient weapons they'd recovered as an Acolyte of the Beyond? We don't know, but we'll find out in January. When it comes out, the 15th. So that's interesting. I don't know. I think there's no way this is Vader's lightsaber that this guy's got, because Ben would never have let someone keep his grandfather's lightsaber. We saw how determined he was to get Luke's lightsaber. Well, it was Anakin's eventually. I mean, ultimately it was Anakin's lightsaber. But he never would have let one of the other little Knights of Ren take his grandfather's lightsaber, the Sith lightsaber. So I don't think this is going to turn out to be true, but who knows, you know? It is interesting that we again get more material that sounds better than what we're getting in the movies, and it's used to fill in the gaps. Why couldn't we see the Knights of Ren? Why couldn't we see their backstory on screen? Why couldn't we get that story? You know, we got to have a comic now to fill in the gaps and introduce the backstory, because they didn't know what they were doing probably when they created them in the first place. And that's the whole problem again with this trilogy. It's just it didn't have a roadmap. They didn't know what they were doing. They were just introducing elements, but they didn't really know why or where they were coming from. And now they're trying to, you know, the plan was like, let's just come up with it and we'll just figure it all out later. And well, we see how that's been going for them. So, all right, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below about the Knights of Ren and their backstory being introduced in this comic instead of seeing it in the movie. Wouldn't it have been cool to see Luke Skywalker fighting off these guys? Oh, man. I mean, seeing him do some Jedi stuff with his... it's devastating that we're not going to get that. Anyway, let me know in the comments down below. Give the video a like and subscribe if you haven't already, if you like the content. I've got more coming, so stay tuned. Until next time, lock the doors and hope they don't have blasters.